Good evening. Welcome again to Freedom Wellness. I wanted to take the time again to reach out to everyone and touch base, keep you encouraged as I also get encouraged by your feedback and your just participating and the energy that comes out of people participating together in community moving towards wellness. It's not that I've achieved it. I'm working with you every single day right along the way. Um, Wanted to talk a little bit about the crisis that we talked about at the end of our last video. And as I lay the foundation for this, I want to talk about the crisis itself. It's a more introspective part of the video. There will be parts like this in my videos where silence is pretty prevalent. Don't feel uncomfortable. It's part of really taking the time to delve deeply beyond that surface level. Okay? And I'll help you with it. So, crisis. What constitutes a crisis for you? What constitutes your inability to surmount a certain circumstance and makes it a crisis for you? There are individual crises, there are relationship crises, and there are world crises. As we all know, we're in the midst of a world crisis with a disease that is devastating the world and impacting every person in some way. Also, there can be a crisis that's financial. There can be a crisis that's spiritual. There can be a physical crisis. But how do we marshal resources within ourselves to overcome the crises? And that answer is different for each and every person, of course. But the key to all of them are some basic concepts of crises that I'm going to go over. And we've heard them all before that I'm going to talk about, but just I want to remind everyone. First, you hear about the fight or flight, right? It's a definite point where your body is saying through hormonal responses, physiological responses, it's time to either fight this threat or we need to run as fast as we can from this danger, this crisis. But there's several more, but one more I want to talk about is the freeze response. When we have the freeze response in relation to a crisis, our brains are processing. It's not that we're not doing anything. It's that our brain is trying to understand the threat, determine what to do about a threat, how to approach this threat so that your life, your being, your family's life is maintained. So for all our trauma survivors out there who've had this freeze response, I want you to know that it wasn't that you weren't doing anything. Honestly, it's your body was saying, I need to process this, and perhaps fighting and flighting isn't exactly what I need to do to get out of this situation. If anyone's been face to face with a gun, unless you know how to fight and disarm the person, you're most likely not going to outrun the bullet. Your body is saying, what do I do in that moment? If there's an action that you can take, then you take it. At times, you don't take it for an opportunity to get away at another time. So the freeze response is a response that law enforcement, medical people try to overcome in their situations. For instance, as a nurse, we practice CPR. For those of us who don't use it all the time in our practice, we try to have it hardwired by being recertified often. We don't want to have the medical personnel with a freeze response. We want it to be automatic, ready to go. Same thing with law enforcement. They do a lot of training and practicing, and if they're good and they're honest, they utilize responses that are appropriate, fair, and ethical. Well, it's the same for all of us. We have met a world crisis, and we are in some sort of unknown state. It's a novel virus, so there is, or was, no way to know exactly what to do in any way, shape, or form for us. But it's a crisis. So this long-standing crisis and staying in that crisis has led to some outcomes. Some are exhausted. Some are hopeless. Some are in denial and just pretending like it really isn't happening. Because there couldn't be a crisis that lasts this long, over a year. But it is. Others are coping by turning to their families and friends in a different way. But I have noticed, even personally, those contacts with family and friends are essential. But what for those, sorry for shaking the camera, what for those who don't have family and friends in that way? Or if they do, they're just not able to turn to them for whatever reasons. How do you maintain the sense of community? And that's what people have been struggling with. Personally, I can say I turn to YouTube more, enjoying versus watching scripted shows. I turn to YouTube, which seem much more natural. And I actually involved in the natural hair community, the African American natural hair community. So I watched a lot of those videos. My sister and I both enjoy those videos. We pass them back and forth. And there's just a connection there that really feels like, hey, this is someone, that we kind of know. When we really don't, but it feels like it. So that helped me decide to utilize this model to be able to reach out to people, because I know how I was touched and how I was impacted. We are definitely in that crisis. What I will ask you for the coming week is to look very closely at how you are managing this worldwide crisis. If it's something that's harmful to you, addictions in any addictive form, which means something that is not beneficial to you, but yet you still can't give it up, but it is helping you cope, we have to look at that and try to come up with being well ways that resonate with us, body, soul, and spirit, and not momentarily, but to shore up resources, because we don't know how long this crisis will be. I heard something on the news saying that masks may be in place until 2024. I'm not sure that that's absolutely correct, but that mask could be part of our lives. So, a big part of the communication for many of us is being able to see the whole face of someone and being able to interact with them. So, and also, many of us, I won't include myself in that because I readily wear a mask, but many people really don't like to wear masks. I would say, from a be well standpoint, wear your mask. That's the physical part of wellness, is maintaining your physical body. It's not a political statement. That isn't what this channel is about. It's about what is well. Also, as you introspect this week, think about how you are maintaining in the crisis. Take some time. Take 10 minutes alone. I don't care if moms have to get into a closet somewhere. I'm a mother, and I know how that was when I was raising children. Take a moment to introspect and ask yourself, how am I doing? We take care of everyone else. All of us do. The men as well, the fathers as well. The children not being able to go to school or able to go to school or going by Zoom. How are you? You're part of our well community too. It's a week of introspection. We'll talk more next week about crisis management and what happens, how a body responds to a long-term crisis. And that's what's happening with all of us. It starts to get weary. Be comfortable with silence in your life. Learn it. Sometimes turn everything off and just be with the silence. Because you know what? As you look at yourself, you're going to find out you're pretty awesome. Take some time to look at you with an honest eye of what goals you want to develop. Okay, that's enough right now. You all have a wonderful, wonderful week. If I'm up to it and able to get away from work, I will upload during the week, but I definitely will be back on Sunday of next week. And everyone, be well. We care for you here at this channel. Thanks. Bye.